which interest rates affect us the most?
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Glassdoor. Adam Grant has joined the Glassdoor community with expert advice on finding a job and making the most of work life, all on the Glassdoor app. And by Bitwarden Password Manager, designed to help millions of users create strong, unique passwords across all devices and accounts during Data Privacy Week and beyond. Available at bitwarden.com.
I'm David Brancaccio in Los Angeles. The new Secretary of Treasury, Scott Bessent, says when it comes to interest rates, he's less worried about what the Federal Reserve will do and more focused on one particular number, the 10-year Treasury yield. Explanation is required. Here's Marketplace's Nova Safo.
The Federal Reserve sets short-term rates, which ripple throughout the economy, but a whole host of factors can influence another key number, the 10-year Treasury yield, which itself affects consumer borrowing costs. In an interview on Fox Business, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said he and President Trump are focused on lowering that number.
We cut the spending, we cut the size of government, we get more efficiency in government, and we're going to go into a good interest rate cycle.
Selling less government debt could lower the interest rates the government has to offer for that debt. The Treasury Department could also change the mix of its debt offerings, something Bessent accused his predecessor of doing, which Janet Yellen denied. Investors also send yields higher or lower based on where they think inflation is headed. And tariff policies have complicated that picture. I'm Nova Safo for Marketplace.
That 10-year interest rate, that yield, is up at 4.43% now. S&P futures are up just slightly. As of tomorrow, the Trump administration is putting almost all employees of the U.S. Agency for International Development on leave. A rally on Capitol Hill yesterday as part of an emerging pushback. Marketplace's Nancy Marshall-Genzer was there.
USAID supporters at the rally held signs saying things like USAID saves lives and Save USAID. They chanted, USA! USA! Heard speeches from members of Congress and worried about USAID's unfinished work. Atul Gawande was USAID Assistant Administrator for Global Health in the Biden administration. He says the skeleton crew left at USAID isn't funding even the humanitarian aid Secretary of State Marco Rubio exempted from the Trump administration's freeze. Gawande only knows of one aid project that's actually been funded to help stem an Ebola outbreak in Uganda. But he says staff on the ground aren't allowed to talk to the World Health Organization, which is coordinating the effort.
And that is still preventing a full response to an Ebola outbreak that has now exposed more than 250 people in Uganda.
And it's not just Ebola. Steffi-Ann Dulapre was a contract worker at USAID, but was furloughed about 10 days ago.
We have dengue fever happening. We have Mpox happening. We are in a slurry of multi-infectious disease outbreaks around our globe.
The big concern is people who aren't getting treatment for those diseases, says Angie Garvey, another USAID contractor who was also let go last week.
People are going to die. People are already dying. Life-saving work is done at USAID.
Garvey says COVID taught us that diseases don't respect borders. The State Department didn't respond to a request for comment by deadline. I'm Nancy Marshall-Genzer for Marketplace.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Amazon Business, aiming to help save time by offering smart business buying solutions so there's more time to focus on growing the business and less time doing the admin. More at AmazonBusiness.com. And by The Economist, devoted to providing independent journalism that makes sense of the news shaping the world. More at Economist.com or with The Economist app, newsletters, and podcasts.
Climate change is driving up business insurance for people and firms in the path of increasingly hot fires, also for places that depend on cold. Insurance premiums for ski resorts are up more than 150% in a decade, according to an industry association. From Fairleigh, Vermont, Daniel Ackerman has more.
For more than a decade, John Marsden has spent his winters ice skating on the 4-mile Lake Moray skating trail here in Fairleigh. He likes to come after sunset.
And you can skate in the moonlight on the lake, and it's like nothing else in this world.
The skating is the main wintertime draw for nearby Lake Moray Resort, and many of the skaters here call the trail almost spiritual. But I had to ask resort owner Mark Avery, who maintains the trail, about something decidedly not spiritual: insurance. It sounds like that's been a headache.
Yes. So we've been running the trail for 14 years, and never once did I think about insurance. We just went out there and plowed and watched the community just thoroughly enjoy the trail.
Avery says getting insured was never a problem. But when he needed to renew last year, his insurer called him up.
And they said, we would love to insure you, but, of course, there's always a but. We're not going to cover the skate trail. There's too much liability there.
These days, insurance headaches like this are common in winter recreation. Kelly Sinclair runs the Highlands Nordic Ski Center in Ontario. She says in the last 5 years,
our premiums have doubled, and we are a facility that has had 0 claims.
Industry-wide, though, claims are increasing, which raises premiums for everyone. And warmer winters with less reliable snow and ice aren't the only culprits, says Scott Brandy, president of the ski areas of New York.
Fires, hurricanes, windstorms, all of the above have dramatically impacted what ski areas are paying.
Back at the Lake Moray skating trail, Mark Avery understands his business is kind of at the whims of the weather.
Climate change is real. It's increasing liability. You have to work with it and come up with a creative solution.
This year, Avery transferred ownership of the trail to the town, which has a municipal policy for ice rinks. And that means the trail is up and running again. And after a long cold snap, conditions are just right. In Fairleigh, Vermont, I'm Daniel Ackerman for Marketplace.
And in what could be seen as a sign of the times, the burger chain Carl's Jr. seems to be stepping back into the era when the culture found it okay to put up what were called girly calendars in the workplace. The burger chain is out with a Super Bowl-timed ad featuring a scantily clad influencer where you don't have to be a professor of semiotics to pick up sexualized references. Contrast this to a headline from back in 2017 that had read, Carl's Jr. says goodbye to sexy burger ads, back when objectification was out. Defenders see some parody in the current ad, a back reference to Carl's Burgers and Bikinis years. Carl's Jr. is CKE Restaurant Holdings of Tennessee, which also owns Hardee's in Los Angeles. I'm David Brancaccio, Marketplace Morning Report. From APM, American Public Media.